Greetings, everybody. Hey, welcome to our tech booth. My name is Mitch, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to set up both lower thirds as well as keeping a background graphic behind your subject on stage. So, without further ado, I do apologize. I am a pastor, which means I love to talk a lot. I'm going to try my best to not just gab. Okay, I'm gonna try my best, and you might want AI to summarize this video for you, but I'm gonna show you guys how to do this. You're gonna need a couple things, and before that, let's dive right in. Let's go. All right, everybody, welcome to our ProPresenter. Hey, so what I want to show you guys is how to be able to basically have, okay, let's say you have an LED wall, you have maybe a projector like what we have. You got an image behind the person that's standing on stage, but then you want to have a lower third image that is going to go up on the live stream. Okay, so it's only going to go on the live stream, but in person, you're going to have a graphic that is behind your subject. So in ProPresenter 7, how I do this is through props. Okay, so let me show you a few things. Right here, this little section, you see that? These are called props. So these props are where your lower thirds are going to live, okay? Here are the lower thirds. You can see the graphic there. That's where they're going to live. Um, I'm probably going to have to get into all sorts of things because we're going to use Chroma Key to do this for the live stream. But so without further ado, let me just show you, okay, what are you going to need? Well, you're going to need a screen, okay? You're going to need some kind of screen for your main projection. You're going to need another screen for lower thirds or for your online purpose, okay? You're also going to need a video switcher. I'm assuming that you have all of that, okay? So we're using here at our church, we've got the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, and that's what we're using. Let me show you just our screen setup, okay? So we're going to go ahead and look at our screen configuration. Here's our main screen, okay? This is, of course, using that ATEM right here. Black Magic design. You can see that. So we're using this as an output. Maybe it would help if I open up ATEM software control. Let's also just load this guy up. Okay, so you could see on our outputs here, output number 1 is program. So this is probably going to our live stream, or it could be going to our program feed also goes into our hallways. So it's one of those other ones. We're not worried about that though right now, okay? We ain't worried about that. I'm just trying to find our main screen. It's probably this guy. There it is. Output 2. So output 2 is set to ProPresenter, okay? Now that means when you go ahead and you create your inputs, you're going to want to create one for your computer feed for ProPresenter, and I just like to label it ProPresenter. So output 2 is our main screen. Boom, you could name it whatever you want, but that is what we're setting up. All we're going to need, right, to make this happen, we're not going to worry about, yep, we got a confidence monitor. We're not going to worry about any of that. I set up a multi-view. We ain't going to worry about any of that. Like, it's not even configured. So we ain't going to worry about that. All you need to worry about, okay, is we got a main screen. This is the person, this is the screen behind the person. And then we're going to use, you need an ATEM, okay? So this, I call it ATEM. You call it whatever you want. But this is what's going to the live stream, okay? So we're going to need your main screen, and you're going to need to create one for your live stream. You can use an actual display if you want. You can use a monitor for that. I'm actually using an iPad. It's in sidecar mode. So there are some things, I've never been to church before that has ever used an iPad in sidecar mode to accomplish lower thirds, but I am doing it that way, and it actually has worked. So it works. Just make sure, what we're doing, we got an adapter that goes, because our switcher, takes HDMI input. So we have a Thunderbolt to HDMI adapter. What's great about the one that I'm using, it's by Anchor, is it also has a way that you can charge your iPad. So this iPad is always charged up. We have no problems using this. So you're going to need a source, a screen source for your lower thirds. Okay. What I'm using is the iPad here. So again, we have a main screen. Okay. And then we have the iPad set up. All right. And as soon as you're in AirPlay mode, I mean, it'll show up like that. Those are the two things you're going to need. Okay. 2 screens. We're going to need to make a look. Okay. So you got your screens figured out. Well, we're going to have to create a look. So we in our service have a bunch of different looks that I've created. We've got looks for the sermon main points. We've got, actually, I think our default look, I'm just going to rename it right now. This is actually during worship. Our default look is what we have going that's displaying lower third lyrics, okay? So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to create a look for this. Now, I'm calling it announcements. And the reason I'm calling it announcements is because, well, that's the time when we're using, a lower third with a QR code on it for the live stream. But then behind the person is the main graphic, right? So I just called it announcement time. You can just hit the little plus icon, name it whatever you want. But here's what we got to know. Okay, your main screen is, you're not going to include props on it. Your main screen is not going to have props on it. Okay. For your ATEM or for your live stream, whatever you're going to call this, this is your live stream screen. This is what people on the live stream are seeing. So what we need to do for that is you're going to unselect media. Why? Media is the graphic that is going behind your main person. So you're going to unselect media, unselect video input, unselect announcements. What you want is the props. You want to make sure you got props. I guess you probably don't even need this message thing, but I just left it there. You need props. Let's see. I've got a theme. I actually don't even think you need a theme. Okay? You don't really need a theme. I don't know why I have a theme applied to this. Look, I have a lyric theme. You don't really even need that. You could just leave this blank and it's still going to work, okay? All right. So, again, the important thing here is that your props are going to your live stream, because we're going to use props to make this happen. Okay? So, now here is our announcement time in our service. So I have it here displaying for you guys. All you're going to do is you're going to drag and drop your announcement, whatever graphics you have. Okay? Just drag and drop, drag and drop. When you come to a graphic that is going to have a lower third, the very first one that we have is this guy. This is like a graphic that's about, finding ways to serve. You want to start volunteering, scan the QR code. Okay. Do you notice that there is a prop icon here? So essentially what is happening is I am adding a prop action. Okay. Hold up. Let me even back it up a little bit more. I love macros. And you can see here, there's a macro applied to this very first slide. Why is that? Well, what I'm doing is I am changing the audience look for this moment in our service. Okay, remember how we just created that specific look that we called announcements? Okay. So what I like to do is I like to create macros, because throughout the service, we're going to change the look. When we're having worship, we're going to have a look that's just for, the screen It's cool looking. It has a little motion background. It has the lyrics up there. But there's a specific look for lyrics going to our live stream. So that's going to be a specific look during the service. Let's call it worship. When we come to announcements, we're going to have an announcement look, which is the thing that we just created, okay? So what I do, though, is I create macros. So here's a macro back over here, the little M, okay? We have several different macros that are happening. And you can even create your own graphic. Like some of these I created my own graphic. These other ones I just got kind of lazy for. So I created an announcement macro. Let me just walk you through it. Here we go. I'm just going to recreate it. So we'll call it announcements. Okay. And then let's change the icon to how about that? That looks like an announcement thing. Cool. So the macro is created, but we haven't added any actions to it. So that's what we need to do now. We're going to go ahead and right click, and we're going to add some actions. Okay. The very first action we're going to add is an audience look. Okay. This is going to show us all of our audience looks. So we're going to go ahead and use the announcement audience look, the one that we just created. Okay. We're going to click that. Boom. And what else should I do? Well, I'll see. Okay, here's another thing. I want to create, also I want to change our stage display during this point in the service, okay? So, normally we just finished worship and now we're going into announcements. It's probably different at your church, but that's just how we do it. So what I want to do is normally during worship time, our confidence monitor has, the lyrics, it has the chords on there. So what I want to do now is I just want to mirror whatever's on the screen. Okay. So guess what? I made a whole theme for that. So what I'm going to add an action stage. Sorry, you don't do slide, you do stage. So I'm going to add action. I'm going to hit stage. Okay. Now this is where you're picking your theme that you've created already, which, sorry, I'm not showing you that. This video would be way too long, but I know this is it. I made this one, mirror main one. Okay. That's it. That's all we're doing. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go up here to this slide. I'm just going to remove all these actions. We're just going to remove all. And I didn't think that through. I want my graphic. Okay, Command Z. Let me just remove the actual actions. Remove announcements, and then I also had to remove a clear prop. Let's just take that off. Okay, so now we're going to take our macro. We're going to click it. Boom. Okay. So here's our main screen. You can see what's up there right now. And when I click that, it's awesome. It shows what's happening on the main screen. Well, yep, there's the graphic. If I go down, I show you what's on our confidence monitor. Look at that. It will show you that we're mirroring this. Now, normally I would probably also add a timer. Let's just do that really quick. I will add a timer also to the macro. So watch, boom. Look, now you got a timer going. If you were, hey, we're only doing 5 minutes for announcements, you could actually set up a 5-minute timer, whatever. The point is the macro is changing by just one click. Even if I click it from here, see how the timer restarts? So the macro is changing the different looks into not just the looks, but the different themes and everything. Now, if I go down to our ATEM live stream, okay, this is what it's showing. It's just a green screen. Now, it's probably green because if we go back to our different looks, it's green because I have it selected with that theme, right? For announcements, it's selected on a theme, but you don't really necessarily need to do that as long as the prop that you're using has a green screen background, because we're going to be using Chroma Key to key out your background. Okay. So now what do you do? Okay. Well, we set up this macro that's changing the looks and getting even the confidence monitor ready for announcements. Well, now we need to add a prop. Okay, so here's our graphic here. This is the main graphic. And if I go to props, okay. You know what? I'm just going to download this really quick for you guys so you have something to look at. Actually, I might have. Let me see if I still have it in here. There you go. Okay, so here's the graphic we're going to use. Now, I made this with ChatGPT. Obviously, I'm not going to get into how to make a graphic. You can make it with Canva. You can make it with Photoshop. You can make it with Affinity. You can make it however you want. You could make it with ProPresenter. I mean, you could do that and make the background green. We're using a green background because we're going to Chroma Key out the green, and I'll show you guys that in a minute. But so this is our lower third. Okay, so we're going to create a prop. Now, I already have one, but we're just going to create one. And, you can label it if you want. You don't necessarily have to, but I'll just call it lower third, lower three. You don't really have to do that, but whatever. Okay, so I'm just going to drag and drop. That's all you're going to do. Drag and drop it. It says this already exists because I already have one. I'm going to say it's a new version because I'll delete it anyway. Okay, bada bing. So we have a lower third. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to remove, because I already have a prop on here. I'm just going to remove the prop. Okay. All you have to do is, if this is the slide where you want that lower third to go online, we're just going to drag and drop it there. Just like that. Okay. Now, when I click this slide, watch what happens. Boom. When I click the slide, the lower third is showing up online. Now, there are some things that we need to do within our software control to make sure that this really truly works. But let me just show you a couple more things within ProPresenter. So I don't know if you guys noticed that, but it kind of like slowly faded in. What we can do is we can edit the transition. So I'm going to right click and I'm just going to go to transitions. And I'm just going to cut. I don't know. I just like quick cuts. And then, okay, to clear it, you're going to have to create another action here. And so we'll add an action, clear, and then you clear props. It's grayed out right now because I already have one on here. So the moment that I hit this slide, it's going to clear that prop. Watch how quick it'll go. Bloop. Okay. Now we added that transition to be a quick cut. So when I hit this slide again, it's just a quick cut. It doesn't slowly fade in. If you want to mess around with transitions, you can. You can do all sorts of different ones. But I just like to do it quick. And boom. The moment I click on the next slide, that prop is gone. So you got to keep that in mind, because let's see what happens if I go to this one that has a prop, right? Well, okay, here. If I go straight from this slide, boom, there's the prop. And I go to this slide, boom, there's a prop. So, I mean, that's not too bad. But I guess if you wanted to go back, then you're stuck with it on. But yeah, so you just want to kind of maybe add these little, I mean, it could be a blank slide if you wanted, but just add some spots where you just clear it. Okay. And then here's another one about a youth group. See it? And there's the prop. That's all you got to do. Okay. Now, however, there's some more stuff we need to do within ATEM software control to make sure that this works. So if you're the video director, how we have this set up at our church is we have our screen that is, like I mentioned, we're using an iPad in sidecar mode that we're using. So we have that screen is going into our ATEM software control. So what we need to do is create now an Upstream key. So we're going to create an Upstream key that's going to do a couple things. One, it's going to key out your background. So it's going to take out that green. Okay. The other thing we need to do with it is we need to position it properly so that it actually shows up as a lower third, and that it's not tiny or that it's not in the wrong spot. Which, by the way, if you guys haven't noticed, in all of my graphics here, if I go back to my Finder and show you, how I like to start with lower thirds when designing is I always center it. I always keep the lower third in the center, okay? And that just kind of helps with how I'm positioning things. All right. So let me show you guys software control. Okay. So how I've done things is I actually have Upstream key 1 set up for our lyrics. So during worship, basically what happens is during the worship part of our service, the video director will have Upstream key number 1 turned on for lyric lower thirds. But for these, graphic lower thirds that we're doing, I have that set up on Upstream key 2. So first thing you're going to do within software control is you're going to need to go over to your palettes. You want to find Upstream key 2, okay? And we are not using Luma, we're using Chroma. So the reason we're using Chroma is so that our graphics can have different colors, in it. If you do Luma, I believe Luma removes the black behind your graphic. And so, we want to use different colors. We especially want to use black. So we're using Chroma Key, which is awesome because you can have any image as long as you have a green screen or you got a blue screen. And here's right here the Chroma sample. You can change the color. So if you're using a blue screen, you would just change this to blue. But so, we're using green. You want to select your fill source. So our fill source is the input of the iPad that we're using. It's whatever screen you're using for your lower thirds, that is going to be your fill source, wherever that signal's coming from. I've called it on our software control. I've labeled it as lower thirds, so it's just easy to remember. So boom, we're gonna pick that. Now, guys, it should do a pretty good job of just automatically detecting all of the key adjustments. But if you just want to see how I have it, I mean, you can kind of copy it. But I would just say, it does a pretty good job of just instantly knowing. But there you go. If you want to mess, with the background and stuff like that, you would go there. The other thing I'm using, so I have to use a mask on mine, and you might not have to. I've seen people do this before where they have no problem. They don't ever use a mask. I have to use a mask on mine because if I don't, there's these black bars that show up. And so the reason I'm using a mask is to get rid of those black bars. Maybe that's because I'm using an iPad and the screen size is a little bit different. I'm not sure. But I've seen people do it before without a mask. So, anyways, I have to have a mask on mine. And if you want to copy that, you can. But I mean, unless you need one, you don't need it. Now here's the flying key. This is how you actually set the position of the lower third. Okay. So, I've seen people do it before with -7. In fact, I think so for the Y position up here, I think that's how we're doing it on our Upstream key number 1, or in other words, how we're doing it with lyrics. I believe I have that at -7. Let me just scroll up. That'd be this one. Yeah, I mean, it's a -6.8. So, I mean, it's roughly about -7. For whatever reason, I felt like -5 positionally was better when it shows up on our stream, and I'll try to show you guys that in a minute. But so I would say start at like -7 and just see how it looks. Keep it 0, -7. If you adjust the 1, you're basically increasing the size. And so I always try to keep it just at 1. You're kind of like increasing the gain of it. So it's kind of helpful for lyrics in particular, because if the lyrics look too small on your stream, then you would just increase this number. I'm curious if I'm doing that actually on Upstream key 1. Again, that's our lyrics. If I go up to that, no, I have it set to normal. I have it just at 1. I know in the past I've messed with that, but Yeah, I felt like when you kind of increase it, it gets a little more pixelated, and so I think what I did there is within the actual lyric theme on our, on ProPresenter, I just increased the font size from there, and it seemed to look better. But yeah, so I just keep it at 1, but if you wanna make it bigger, you can mess with it there. But yeah, other than that, guys, that's it. So your, video director, well, they what them to do is they wanna be able to hit, since in our situation, we're using Upstream key 2 for the video, or sorry, the graphic lower thirds. So to enable it, all they're gonna do is press Upstream key 2 when it's time to go there. So, but, our the way we work is we have ProPresenter right next to the video director. So the video director is basically watching the ProPresenter operator. If you're using comms, you can communicate, the video director can communicate with the ProPresenter operator, and, they can tell you when they're on the slide or whatnot. But I mean, it's pretty straightforward also. But when you start to add on ProPresenter, you start to add those clear all props. I mean, you can pretty much automate it because let me jump over here and let me just kind of show you guys our multi-view and what it would look like. Okay, guys, so here's our multi-view, and you can see here that we have our program feed is showing the camera. So this is what's going to the live stream. You can see that, well, in preview mode is ProPresenter. That's the actual graphic. And then we have right here, here's our upstream key. Now this is going in as the third input. I don't know if I can pick. There it is, right? But so since we've gone ahead and we've configured it, all the video director needs to do now to get that graphic to show up there is going to be to press the upstream key that we programmed, which is upstream key 2. Boom, boom. So there you guys go. So now you have the graphic up there. And again, if you don't like the positioning of it, you can adjust your flying key. You can adjust the flying key and that will move it around. But yeah, as long as they have upstream key 2 enabled, it'll stay up there. Now, what's great is that they could even leave it on there. They could keep it on. But when you have your ProPresenter operator go to a slide that clears the props, it'll just naturally clear itself. Okay. So if they go to another slide that says where you've added a clear prop, it'll just go away. So they don't necessarily have to be, clicking on and off, on and off, on and off, like, like that. But they can also do it that way too. All right. Well, I hope that was somewhat clear. Maybe it was clear as mud. I was basically just kind of showing you guys how I think through things on the spot there. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'd be glad to try and get back to you and answer those questions that you might have. But I hope this video was helpful and hopes mainly, I always ask these 2 questions. Number 1, does it glorify Jesus? And number 2, does it help other people glorify Jesus? So my hope is that this video helps you and your church to glorify Jesus the best way you can. So thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. God bless.